Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum bringing you your Theo Night video for September 13, 2018. We're talking a focus on the financials. Some of the main names are doing well. Most are coming off of resistance, but we'll update our charts, levels, and any opportunities with respect to the broader XLF financial industry, and then take a look at individual names, some of which are bullish, others are bearish right now. But first, we'll compare that to the XLK, which is our technology sector and the focus of Tuesday night's video with respect to a bullish bounce thesis in play. Now, the technology sector is concurring with that bounce outcome, particularly in Apple, Microsoft, and some other names we looked at, as this pushes up away from its 50-day moving average toward potentially 76 and the high. Well, that's technology. Financials, not so much. And we're going to be cautious with this one because financials trending down or pushing further to the downside could be a catalyst for a weaker stock market. But until then, just balance out the bullish play in technology with a relatively bearish, cautious, or even neutral play in the financial sector. First, this is our broader XLF. Remember, XLK is at new or pushing up to new 2018 highs. Financials, not there yet. In fact, they are stagnant and have been stagnant within this really 2-point trading range on the daily chart. That's about 2650 to 2850. Again, broader index. And we are seeing divergences push this price lower in what we call toward away from movement. In this case, away from 28.50. Now we're at 28 per share. And the next play will be a departure down from 28 down to 27.50 if additional selling takes us lower. And we're going to see how that could play out in individual names. So we'll focus again on the 28 area as a potential support bounce, but if it gets under 28, that could be a catalyst for additional selling. Now, we had a little bear play in Wells Fargo. It's one of the weakest financial stocks, at least by this metric, and the weakest of the leading financial stocks, or things that you've probably heard of or traded in the past. Wells Fargo had a push into 59 per share, almost 60 per share. We highlighted it as a resistance spot with those divergences, and now we're seeing rapid selling, or even a rounded reversal and a trend reversal to the downside, pushing through the midpoint, which is roughly 56. It potentially will fall to 53.90 or even 54 per share. Now that's going to be the level to watch in Wells Fargo that plays out to the broader ETF. PNC Financial also had a sell swing against the 200-day simple average and the 146 per share level. Now prices fallen to 140. That is a key spot marker and pivot, and it's something we'll be watching in Friday and next week's activity. Again, will this hold support and bounce as it has in the past? That's a bullish bounce play intraday and with some swing trade candidates. Or if PNC breaks, that means Wells Fargo, other broader stocks, the XLF itself, could fall with it. USB, US Bancorp. It is pushing away from its resistance spot. Again, those same little divergences, but not as much. In fact, today was an up day for US Bancorp, and that's going to be at the 53, roughly 54 pivot, just beneath 54.50. It does have a bear pathway to the downside, but like we're seeing in the XLF and others, it is into a key short-term marker, and that's the need for tonight's update. Watch these plays into support, or if they break. If they break, they probably all break together. And if they support bounce rally, they probably all support bounce rally together. And that will govern your short-term and intraday trades in these financial names. JP Morgan, its pivot is roughly 113.50 per share. It's the 50-day moving average and a price pivot. Again, pushing away from 118. That's been the theme. Pushing away from resistance down towards support. And if these current levels, which have been achieved, fail, we probably see a push down to 111 per share. That is price and the moving average pivot target. Citigroup. It's weak, and in fact has been weaker because of the gap in high bear volume. And we look at price with volume, and when price goes down with high or a large amount of sell volume, that tends to forecast additional bearish prices ahead. So we like to play short sell trades into resistance, and especially if bear volume confirms that. But still, Citigroup is on the 65, 66 per share support against 73 resistance. Where is it now? At the midpoint, like the other stocks. Goldman Sachs is a little bit different because it is at its midpoint support. $227 is our pivot support for Goldman Sachs, and it turned up today. So if you are aggressive, Goldman Sachs is a potential bullish bounce buy play as a swing trade or a series of intraday trades in a lower time frame back up toward the 236, 238, maybe even 240 level. But you can see the bullish bounce pathway balanced against our break and fall pathway. And that would trigger under 225, takes us $5 lower, just beneath 220 per share. Morgan Stanley, like Goldman Sachs, and I group them together. So if you look at these as a grouping, Wells Fargo and PNC are relatively weak. The remainder here are at the midpoints, and these are at lower support, Goldman and Morgan Stanley. Notice how we're drawing a triangle of a rising trend line and a falling trend line. If you are going to place something here, bullish bounce pathway doesn't give us a whole lot of room to the upside, maybe to 50 per share. But if this falls, it starts to enter new lows, new 52-week lows, if it can fall under 46 per share. Those are the bearish candidates, either falling into midpoints or into key support pivots. Not all is bearish for the financial grouping. American Express, AXP, just made a new 52-week high as the uptrend continued. Remember, we had bullish bounce plays on a recent bull flag in Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, the XLK, and other names. Well, AXP is one of those financial stocks that keep defying the odds of the other financial companies with higher highs, higher lows, and a recent successful bull flag outcome. Nothing to play off of this one because it is overbought, overextended, but maybe look to pick it up on a fade back to the moving average or on a subsequent future bounce. We'll end with Visa, which also pushed up to a new 52-week high, barely, but still registered it today off a bounce. This kind of looks like Amazon, doesn't it, to an extent, where we have this rising parallel trendline channel, midpoint rising, rising averages, and the fall from resistance, bounce off the 20 and push back to the highs. Just for comparison's sake, this is what Amazon looks like. So Visa, if you compare the charts, is just a little bit stronger because it is at the high. Amazon is not. Keep watching your tech sector, XLK and leading components, with your financial sector, XLF, with its leading components. Play the departures and movement toward away from these levels, and as always, stay safe. This is Corey Rosenblum for the Theo Night video for September 13, 2018.